Hey folks, welcome to the Foolish Canuck podcast. Thanks for listening. I am your host, Chris Timms. I hope everything's doing well in your life. I hope everything's groovy. I hope the pandemic isn't too hard on you. It's been a little while, but this is episode number 20. I am back. Honestly, not much to report. Still no shows, still no work, and I'm still trying to figure things out. I saw someone post recently that it's hard to be creative when you're struggling to pay rent, buy food, or whatever, which I would tend to agree with. Though I wonder if I do so merely as an excuse as to why I haven't been motivated or haven't done half the things I said I was going to do. In reality, pressure creates diamonds, right? And I should be using this misfortune and the experience I'm going through right now as motivation. Granted, it's easier said than done, but it starts with trying, so here we are again. I'm not really sure what I want this podcast to be yet, still. I have ideas, and I'll admit I'm creating unnecessary boundaries for myself when the beauty of these things is that you can just do whatever you want. You don't need a theme, you don't need a format or whatever, just turn on the thing, start recording, and start talking. There's a guy I follow on Twitter, @MarzillaSky, who tweeted something a little while ago that kind of connected with me. It was like the perfect words. He said, the tweet was, "Don't let perfect be the enemy of good." And whether it be this podcast or the videos I've been trying to do, I feel like I keep striving for something that at this point is just not achievable. And rather being happy with what I can do, I let the frustration take over about what I wish I could be doing. Been like everything else in life, this is a process, I have to stop getting ahead of myself. I need to be more rational, but we're living in a very unrational time. This fucking pandemic, it's just dragging on, Who knew that come almost December now, we'd still be in our houses. I almost said that like a weird way. Hooses. I don't know. But yeah, it's weird, man. I used to wake up and the first thing I would do is I would check the weather. Now the first thing I do when I wake up is I check the case counts, and there's not much to do. I don't got much going on, so I spend way too much time probably on watching the news on YouTube and just on social media. Because, like I said, there's nothing really going on. And I got to tell you, I'm noticing some of the sanest people I know have just lost their goddamn minds. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because everyone's at home and just taking in too much content. But Jesus Christ, it's insane. And I don't know. I think there's a lack of trust and an over sense of entitlement that I think got us here. I mean, I'm sure other factors, played a role, but Jesus, man, it's insane. People are on edge. You can't even make a joke. You can't joke about anything. I got into a Twitter beef. I got my first real Twitter beef. It was amazing. It lasted a few hours, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. There's a sports radio show that I listened to, and they tweeted something, right? It was the host of the show, and it was how it started, how it's going. One of those things. And the first picture, the host looked absolutely awful. He was overweight. My comment was he looked like a Make-A-Wish kid. That was it. And some guy came out and started to attack me. He's like, "That is so insensitive." He didn't even say, what he called me. He called me an insignificant piece of garbage and that I should take it down. Now, here's the thing. I wasn't making fun of, the Make-A-Wish kids. And this is what I tried to explain to the guy. I was like, listen, I'm not making fun of the kids. It's just a joke. I didn't, hashtag Make-A-Wish Foundation in the joke, right? Which he did in the comment to me. So, now he's making aware of, I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into that. But anyway, he goes on calling me this, insignificant piece of garbage. And then I need to be a better human. I tell him that, he needs, we all need to be better humans. Like calling someone you don't agree with a insignificant piece of garbage is not very nice, you know? Anyway, it went on for a little while. I found it very amusing. But I like it's just a joke. If you don't find it funny, you don't have to attack somebody, right? And the moment that you go after somebody with like an insult, right? So, okay, so if he messaged me and was like, "Listen, man, my kid, whatever," right? And that it's insensitive. I would think differently about the tweet. I would go, okay, well maybe like I don't find it insensitive. I don't think that, like, even the host of the show, I guarantee you, didn't find it insensitive. He probably laughed. I know the other hosts of the show probably laughed, and they even made an off comment about it on the show, about how awful of a photograph it was. And, besides the one person that, called me a piece of shit and one person that backed him up, there was over 20 some odd people that liked the tweet, right? It's not a huge thing. It was fucking 20 people. It's not like it went viral. But this guy felt like the need to really go after me, even to the point where he's like, I hope if you have children or one day have children, that karma isn't a bitch, Like, the moment you start insulting people and wishing, quote, not bad things to happen, to my supposed progeny or unborn progeny, you lose all your weight in your argument with me. Like, just, I don't know. It's like, what do you expect me to do? If you call me a piece of garbage and then be like, take down this tweet, am I supposed to go, oh my God, I'm a piece of garbage, I'm going to take down this tweet? Like, you're trying, like, you look at what's happening in the world today. Intimidation is only being met with intimidation. Aggression just gets met with aggression, as well as it's Twitter. If you don't like the tweet you're seeing, you can always block the person who tweeted it, right? You don't have to change the world for your sensitivities. I don't know. Maybe you do. Maybe that's the direction we're going in, and I'll be like, 10 years down the road, one of those old dinosaurs that doesn't understand what the hell's going on. I mean, I'm already kind of trending in that direction, but I'm trying. I'm trying to be part of the solution, and I'm trying to understand, but people make it really difficult. And, it does make me wonder, though, because I haven't done stand-up in a little while, what audiences are going to be like when I get back on stage. It's like some of my material might have aged. I'm curious to see how my material has aged through a pandemic. Fuck. But, apparently everything is going to change. The world's going to get back to normal because there was a presidential election in the United States. That's right. There's a new president elected. Joe, make sure he's still breathing Biden. And like, I say that knowing full well that if I was an American citizen and I was voting in the election, I would have voted for Joe Biden. So, but man, you got to think, right? Like, over 300 plus million people in the United States, and those are the two best options. There's definitely something wrong with the system when, that's the case, right? I mean, whether it's in the U.S., Canada, or wherever, I don't know. I think we need to reform democracy. We need like a modern democracy, something that can answer the call for the challenges that are like to come ahead, and that can answer the challenges that are here now. And I'm just a guy who tells dick jokes, right? I'm by no means a political scientist or an expert. But from my vantage point, government looks kind of broken. And I'm not one of these drain the swamp anti-government people either. Like, I'm all for government as long as it's serving the people as it's supposed to do. I don't know. I just feel like politicians and the institutions themselves have lost their way. Change is required. There's no motivation. Like, that. This is the problem, though, right? Like, we need to make changes, though there's no motivation for changes, as those the people who would have to set forth change, like risk losing their power and standing, so there's no motivation. They're like, no, why would I do this? Why would I change things and risk everything, and not everything for them individually, personally, or for their party. I don't know. I think this is what I think? I think we need someone like one of those ancient Romans who, in a time of crisis, was given the power of dictator to do whatever was necessary to make reforms, bring peace, or whatever needed to be done. And then once they were done, they just relinquish their power. Granted, I can only think of two who actually willingly gave up their power. And in today's world, that'd be a hard person to pick. Because possibly, I don't know, maybe more than ever, I think the idea of absolute power corrupts absolutely is evident everywhere. You see it everywhere. Even working in a restaurant, that manager that has that inkling of power will fucking, push the boundaries of what they can get away with to the absolute limits, right? I mean, we all do it with whatever little bits of power that we have, right? Because, we live in a society where most of us don't have much power. So when you get it, it's like, oh man, that's why the customer is always right. It's such a powerful thing with people. They're like, I'm the customer. I'm always right. This is my little inkling of power. I can do something with this. I can make someone do something for me with this. It's I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but you know what I'm saying? There's it's just too easy to be corrupted by power nowadays, I think. But maybe it's always been like that. I don't know. It seems so. If you listen to history, I listen to hardcore history quite a bit, and it seems like throughout history, possibly more often than not, absolute power has corrupted absolutely. So yeah, who would you pick? It'd be tough to pick a politician, right? It would be tough to pick someone who has aspirations for that top job, because really, what are their motivations, So, you know what? This is why, for the betterment of all, I'd be willing to volunteer and take on the burden of dictator. Why not? I have some ideas, right? It couldn't be any worse than anyone else. Maybe. I don't know. I think I could do it. I try to be transparent, right? I try to be a good dictator. As dictator, I would have all my expenses covered for the duration of my reign, but I'll make them all public, right? Even in my weed purchases. And I will not take a salary. I'll walk away with no sort of financial gain, okay? And I say that as currently being a poor person who's out of work. But I believe those elected to government are there to serve and not to profit for themselves. And that's not to say they shouldn't make a good living either. But someone who goes into politics, they shouldn't be doing it for financial aspirations. Once their term is up or they leave office, they can do whatever they like. I know that with speaking engagements and the book deals I'd get after I'm done being dictator, I'd make more money than I'd ever thought possible. But, people didn't agree for me to be dictator to benefit myself. So, we'll move on with the plans. I think I'd need to be dictator for probably about 2 years, right? The first year, I'd roll out and implement my plans, my new reforms, right? And then the second year would be the transition out of being a dictator as I oversee the new systems, right? 2-year plan. And then I'll just walk away, make my book and speaking money, and then just retire somewhere in the country, open an animal sanctuary or whatever, and just, be like Thanos in my garden. Except less people are going to die, obviously. Why not? Honestly, though, there will be some ridiculous partying and perhaps questionable decisions once I've left office, but, my job's done. It's allowed, right? As long as I don't break the law. But I think I'm getting ahead of myself here. There is a job that needs to be done first. So as dictator, my goal would be not so much to change everything or to make everything perfect. It's just to right the course, protect progress, and steer the ship into the future with, a stable system of government and a functioning society. I think that's all we can really, ask for out of a dictator, right? Let's just get going in the right direction. And first things first is I would reach out and bring together like all the brightest minds in all fields, right? I have a lot of ideas and the will to make drastic changes, but I certainly don't have all the answers, and I'm by no means an expert in, well, anything really, except for perhaps people. I know people, and being able to bridge the gaps is, I think, what society needs most right now. So I'll bring these people together. I'll lay out my ideas. I'll go, okay, these things are negotiable. These things are not. What are your thoughts? How do we make this work? I then listen. We discuss, we tweak the plan as necessary, and then we begin to roll things out. Now, of course, I don't have these people, and obviously this plan is going to have some holes, but I'm an imaginary dictator right now, so please just fucking bear with me. Phase 1, okay? We would have to look at the books. Phase 1, we'd need to figure out some dollars, right? We need to take tax dollars and government funds and reallocate them accordingly based off, a set of priorities. Starting with the citizens' health and happiness, right? Universal health care, non-cosmetic dental care, essential drug and prescription coverage, free daycare, free post-secondary education for essential fields and areas with a shortage of qualified people. I'm sorry, but I know everyone wants just free education, but I don't know. I don't think necessarily being a filmmaker is an essential thing, right? Or a yoga instructor or whatever you'd go to college or university for, that's not essential. If it's essential or there's a shortage in society that we need these workers, education's on us. We're gonna get it covered, right? I think it's a fair proposition. Yeah. What else? I don't know. We can do away with welfare, social assistance, disability, old age payments, and anything of the sort, and introduce a universal basic income, which, I'll get into that in a little bit, but regardless, no citizen has to start off at zero, right? Whatever you're standing in life, you should just be covered. Food on the table, roof over your head. Then we need to make real investment in, climate, right? Also, we need to make realistic investment in climate, right? Like this idea of just banning fossil fuels outright, it's a beautiful idea, and we need to transition to that, but we need to do it in a way that we try to include everybody, right? We need to create incentives for big oil companies to maybe transition away from fossil fuels. UBI will help affected workers, invest in new green energy companies. We should probably make a law that make all new houses and buildings self-sufficient. They have to be self-sufficient and powered by solar. The only grid connection should be for emergencies only. Let's cut down the carbon emissions, and we can do that just by building better homes, and other things, right? We need to make better decisions. Making massive investments in hemp would be amazing for the environment, and I'm not talking about smoking and getting high. I'm talking about paper, textiles, fuel. Even you can make gasohol or methanol fuel off of hemp stalks more so than you can from fucking corn. You can make plastics out of hemp that are stronger and tougher than plastics we currently have and are biodegradable. There's so many more options. We just need to be open-minded and be willing to make the investments. And as dictator, I'm willing to do that on your behalf. We also need to invest in infrastructure and innovation, because here's the thing. Infrastructure creates jobs, and much like democracy, infrastructure needs to be modernized, and we need to think forward, not just do things because that's just the way we've done them, right? And for that, we need innovation. We need to think, maybe concrete's not the best thing. There's always potholes everywhere. We're always having to fill potholes, and filling potholes can't be a jobs program, right? That can't just be an endless thing that we do forever. There's got to be a better way to pave our roads. Something that maybe, melts snow or that has traction or that has traffic control or whatever the case. There are options out there with technology that we should pursue and we should look into. And that's what I will do as dictator. I'm like talking like I'm running for a campaign, but I'm a dictator, right? So I should be able to just be like, this is what's happening. I decree it. Anyway, this is all make-believe and I'm being a crazy person. Yeah, so infrastructure. Here's the thing about infrastructure, right? It's just like it goes hand in hand with our security, right? It's like it's the same thing with like military and all that stuff. Like defense is important, though I would limit like all overseas operations unless absolutely necessary. You also don't need the largest military if it's the most effective. So maintaining a modern and up-to-date forces is important, but there's no need to swell the numbers to a point where you're just like standing around looking for things to do. But here's the thing, like with military costs, it shouldn't come, no military spending should come at the cost of the health and happiness of the citizens, nor the country's infrastructure, right? Like I understand trying to help out there, beyond your borders or lead by example, but it's hard to do when you don't have your own house in order. It's easier to live by example if you have your own house in order, right? And then we have to reform the police. Everyone wants to defund the police, but I'm saying reform the police. We require intensive and constant training, more emphasis on social working, less guns in the field, and we should probably require some type of basic law degree, right? They should understand the laws they're sworn to enforce. Just a thought. Police officers should be thanked for their service, like in the military. And if we hold them to the same standard that we hold the people in the military, we could get there. It's just going to take some time. Better decisions. And with that, we'd also have to reform the prison system, right? All drugs would be legalized, taxed and regulated. Same thing with prostitution, right? Adults are going to do things as long as they're not harming other adults. Again, I said adults weird there, but whatever. As long as they're not harming anybody, why push things in the shadow? That's what fuels and energizes organized crime. And on the fucking mention of organized crime, I would give members of organized crime an opportunity to be part of the solution, right? Let's take them out from the shadows. Let's get them to pay taxes. Let's, if not everyone involved in organized crime is necessarily a bad person. I've learned this over the years, right? Sure, a lot of them are. Some of them are worse than others. And then some are not. I've known many pot dealers over the years that are really good people, and they're just trying to provide something that was unobtainable at the time. So that being said, I wouldn't jail people for nonviolent crimes, except for extremely special circumstances or like super repeat offenders. You find people. You focus on rehabilitation and community service. Those should be the primary objectives, right? Violent criminals, well, you give some a chance. Though repeat offenders, rapists, pedophiles, murderers who show no remorse should be dealt with harshly. In fact, for special occasions, I'd be all for public executions, just to send a message. Like, generally, we're super progressive, but we won't fuck around if we have to. That's a good message to send, right? Like, peace, love, happiness. But if you fucking spill the bong water, I'm gonna fucking cut your head off. I don't know. Yeah, that's the plans, right? And then once you get that stuff figured out, the dollars figured out, we move on to phase 2, where what we do is we ensure access to the internet for all citizens. This would include some type of recycled phone program for those who can't afford one. And with that, we also roll out the My Government app. That's right. It's an app that we're going to use to save democracy. It's the My Government app. It's a portal to connect citizens to government services, information, and so much more. I'm trying to sell it here. It's an app that doesn't exist, but I'm going to fucking sell this app to you folks. You'll have an account, like every citizen will have an account that'll be assigned to their social insurance number or whatever. social security number if you're in the United States, and is untraceable. There'll be no location tracking, and privacy is paramount. The app will have multiple tabs connecting you to just about everything, from all your records, your health records, and everything the government has on you, easy access to your tax information, access to each level of government where citizens can see daily updates from their elected officials, see progress of ongoing projects, or what have you, The app is also how citizens will vote in elections, or on anything for that matter. Elections will essentially be run through this app, and which brings us to phase number 3. We need to reform elections and tweak government, right? And first things first, all political parties under my dictatorship are banned. No more political parties. Loyalty to a party prevents progress. Everything is us versus them. How can we expect the citizens to get along and work together if our leaders can't? Serve the people, not a party. I'll also disband the Senate. It's no longer needed, but we will get to that in a second. As for elections, I would have limited. I'm blanking right now. Every individual will only have like a limited amount that they can spend on an election, right? Like a certain amount. It'd be whatever the number is. I don't know. I'm just going to throw out a number, but I don't know really what elections cost or what should they cost, because you see some of these numbers like, oh, he raised $200 million. Okay, $200 million spent on an election when you have people living on the streets that are hungry and can't eat food is one of the most absurd things I've ever heard of in my entire life. So we need to put a cap, right? You can only spend a certain amount. That's it. And you can only get them from citizens, right? No more big business money. And individual citizens can donate. They can do so through the app, and this should eliminate, shady operators and big money from politics, right? Like I said, all donations will be done to the app and by individuals. If a candidate reaches the campaign limit, they can no longer request donations. That's all. That's it. Citizens keep the money in their pockets. That's it. That's how it works. If people want to vote, if you want to run for office, let's say, you have to have a certain amount of endorsements from citizens through the app, right? And then people will vote for their leader, or figurehead, president, prime minister, wherever you're from, tomato, and they'll vote for their local representatives. No party flags. With no party flags, this gives the opportunity for those who didn't have a chance to work together, right? You're not worrying about ruffling the feathers or upsetting the base. It's about your ideas and what's best for the whole, right? And the people will also vote for the agenda. So they may like someone to be the leader, but not necessarily all their ideas. And this forces compromise. A person running for elected office can propose their ideas, but must fulfill the wishes of the people. All right? And all candidates competing against each other, here's a fun one, right? They should travel together. They should have to travel and campaign together with an equal amount of stops chosen by each candidate, as well as citizens voting in the app, right? Everything is documented and streamed through the app for everyone to see. No media, meme, or troll manipulation, just everything as is for all to see. Also ban political advertisements. They become too toxic. Anything a candidate has to say can be posted through the app, where everything is fact-checked with links, with supporting documentation or whatever. All right? And then come election day, everyone just votes through the app. And then by dinner time, we have the results in real time. We know who the winners are, and that's it. There's no need for recounts or anything. It just all happens in real time. And as for the Senate, well, with the government app, the need for an obstructionist Senate is no longer necessary, because the elected leader and representatives are given an agenda by the people. They come up with the plans of action and then present the plans or the options to the people, right? And then the people, they provide, and the politicians, they'll provide supporting documents, arguments, or whatever for and against through the app, and then people will vote on what they want. And the government gets to work at the discretion of the people. Everything else can be decided by the House, and in any event that a vote is less than 60-40, it just goes to the people. Simple, right? No more unnecessary back and forth bickering, holding things up because, it's better for your party, or, that guy's your enemy, or whatever the case, right? Politicians always talk about being the voice of the people. Well, now we have the technology. People can have their own voice, and in more ways than just picking a person, right? People are fluid, right? Like they have different ideas. It's okay if you like someone and not all their ideas. You don't people don't have to be a carbon copy of your ideal thing. Now I know a lot of this relies on a large number of people voting, and that majority generally don't vote. Could be a problem. But I have a solution. I don't think a lot of people are going to like this solution, but some might. You make UBI available to every adult citizen, regardless of income. But in order to get it, you have to vote. Yep. You have to participate. And this isn't trying to buy votes here. After all, I'm a dictator, remember? It's about incentivizing. And through this process, over time, you'll have a far more aware and engaged society. Voting through the app will be confidential, but there will be an indicator that you voted. And you have to vote on everything. That being said, though, everything will have a none of the above option. And should none of the above ever win, then new options have to be put forth. Right? With all voting in real time, there's no confusion as to what the people want. Everything can just happen. And if this idea of a UBI, universal basic income, or socialism scares you, well, think about it like making every voting citizen a government employee or a senator, right? Again, my goal isn't to change everything or tear it all down to the foundation, but more to let's install some serious upgrades, right? Let's make some changes that allow for less fuckery, right? Less fuckery in politics should be something that, us citizens should strive for. Excuse me. Jesus. I've been fighting a tickle in my throat for a little while, and I just had to let that out, folks. Now, I know, Jesus. I know UBI is a very touchy subject. Universal basic income, man. It's people are really for it or they're really against it. And I've talked about it a lot. I like Andrew Yang's thinking on it. It's like capitalism, but everyone's not starting at zero. My thought on it is, I don't know. It's like, what's the purpose of life? And what are we trying to achieve as a society? Like, is it employment and income? Like how we should measure the success of society? I mean, sure, it's a factor, but should it be the prime driving motivator? Like, I don't know. As dictator, I'd say we should try judging our success on happiness, right? Because whatever your beliefs, we can all agree that health and happiness are key to a good life. And happy people is good for business. I believe in equality as well, right? So this is why all citizens who vote, regardless of income, should get a UBI. The same amount for everyone. You shouldn't be entitled to less because you earn more, though inevitably because you earn more, you will pay more in taxes. Though the UBI will offset some of that, right? And the thought of it disincentivizing people to work may be true in some cases, but it also opens the door for people to follow what they're passionate about and perhaps take some risks they couldn't before, right? Some people may want to travel, who knows? Others will keep working using the UBI to save for retirement or their children's education or, I don't know, whatever. No matter what it is, it relieves stress and leads to more happiness, right? And I promise you, less stressed people is a good thing. And again, it's good for business. But everyone talks about, how you cover the cost. Well, it will be expensive. That's not a lie. But to cover the costs, you eliminate the programs that UBI makes obsolete, right? You cut out unnecessary redundancies and bureaucracy. And, you go through the budget and you cut costs elsewhere. Certain things can be done with whatever's left and through fundraising campaigns, I mean, we're not going to be asking people for as much money for elections. So instead of asking for donations for that, why not ask donations for monuments, schools, or whatever? Right? People can, it's back to giving the power to the people. If they want to, if they want something and we don't really have the dollars for it, they can invest. They can throw in a little bit more into the pot, right? If we're not spending hundreds of millions of dollars on elections, there's got to be more to go around for other things. Also, if we close, tax loopholes, that'll help, right? Raise taxes on those making absurd amounts of money. With no more Senate, you take all the costs of, Senate salaries and expenses and everything else and divert that to UBI. There's ways you can pay for it, right? An estate tax. And I know a lot of people don't like the idea of an estate tax where a percentage of a person's wealth is essentially claimed by the state when they die. But I say, why not? And we don't claim it. It is, quote, forcefully donated, maybe, or donated to the state, right, or to the UBI fund. But we don't be soulless about it. We remember their contribution to society, and we create some sort of monument, right? Either for each individual, or we make a large national monument, and we add names every time a wealthy person dies and some of their estate is taken by the government to support UBI. They're memorialized at this monument, and thanked for their contribution to society. I think that'd be a nice gesture, right? It's like you change the perspective on, them building up all this wealth for it to be just taken away. Where if you think about it as they build up all this wealth, their families are still going to be taken care of, and then they're also, given back to the society that helped put them in the place and the status that they have, and their family has, or whatever, Yeah, I might be just fucking thinking out of my ass here, but I don't know. I just think, like, at the end of the day, with more citizens having extra cash in their pockets, it will stimulate the economy, help business, and over time just be reabsorbed through taxes anyway. Like, at the end of the day, taking care of individuals has to take priority over business, right? If individuals are stable, businesses can be rebuilt. Individuals, on the other hand, only have one life. And when they're gone, they're gone. Unless, fucking zombies. But, that's for another dictator at another time. I'm not dealing with zombies today. And yeah, I guess that would be my main reforms, right? Give people more power and make them happy. Any politician who's against giving people more power, or giving more power to the people, that should tell you enough about their motivations. I just think that if done right, what's good for the little guy will benefit the big guy, which then goes to benefit all. I mean, what do you think? I mean, I could be onto something here. Maybe a few things. One thing. I don't know. Or maybe I just smoke too much weed. You shouldn't smoke weed early in the morning and record podcasts, because then you start rambling about being a dictator. I don't know. I don't think we could ever achieve like some sort of perfect utopia. Like, not in my lifetime anyways. But this world does have the means and resources to eliminate most, if not all, the needless suffering. Sure, pressure creates diamonds, as I said off the top, but, thinking about it, too much pressure can also burst a bubble, crack a foundation, or suppress growth, right? Nothing can grow in a field of diamonds, but if you remove that pressure, a forest of endless possibilities can grow. Or something, I don't know. I guess diamonds are nice, right? We still want some diamonds, but I think as humans, we should have and we could have the ability to choose which direction our carbon takes. right? Whether it be a diamond or a tree among many, I think perhaps the purpose of life, at least for the moment, could simply be to strive for a point where everyone has an option. I don't know. Again, this could all just be nice sounding gibberish, right? This weed is pretty good, but you could tell me. Let me know what you think. I would love to hear it, right? What should we be striving for as human beings or as a society? I mean, realistically, I don't know. We're not all going to get along, right? I don't think we're supposed to. And I suspect full-on world peace is impossible. But we could get close, couldn't we? Perhaps civility can be achieved. I don't know. General happiness. Fuck if I know, right? But I find it fascinating, right? That's why I ponder these things and try to share them with you folks. Then maybe you'll ponder them, and along the way, conversations can be sparked, and, maybe we take some steps forward. There's a lot of talking at each other nowadays, and not enough with each other. And I guess in some long shot, wishful thinking kind of way, I hope I can use this here podcast to encourage more of that. Perhaps bridge some gaps, share a few laughs along the way. Also, I need to generate more subscribers, more followers on social media, because, well, that's just how you book shows. Book the better shows nowadays. And it's how you can attempt to make a living as a comedian now, especially in Canada. And with that being said, I think that's it for today, folks. Thank you for listening, making it all the way through. I know I get rambly. I stumble over my words sometimes. I'll work on it. Much love to you. I wish anyone who pisses you off a day of red lights and stubbed toes. But then you should really talk it over and work it out, You're upsetting Linda. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. This podcast is available on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, and most places you find podcasts. I mean, I think it is. If it's not on the thing that you use, let me know and I'll look into it. I do have a Foolish Canuck YouTube channel. It doesn't have much on it yet except my audio-only podcasts. I see people like Sam Harris, Dan Carlin, and Bill Burr do it, so who am I not to follow suit? Anyway, there's also a mediocre parody of CCR's Lodi that I did about being a Canadian comedian. It's got 41 views. Killing it. But, if you do subscribe to the channel, I'll have some video content coming eventually. Maybe some other music stuff, some gaming content. I don't know. We'll see what I can get through feeling the least awkward. I was going to do the podcast in a video as well as the audio, but then I decided that I do hope to have some conversations and interview some folks, and just being on camera, I think, adds an element of unnecessary pressure to what I'm hoping will be some entertaining and fruitful conversations. Again, that's coming. But, we're in a pandemic. It's hard to get people to come over in a pandemic. Maybe if I can get my cats talking, we can try and do an interview with the cats. No, that's not going to work. All right. You can find Foolish Canuck on Facebook as well on Twitter at Foolish Canuck, where I am the most active as of late. I've been trying to generate followers. As I said, it helps when trying to book shows for some reason. You can be like, hey, man, I got 10,000 followers, but none of the followers actually live in the city that you're performing in, but they'll go, oh, he has 10,000 followers. Okay, we'll book him on our fucking show. Fucking industry is weird. As for me, and links to all my stuff, you can visit the website, foolishcanuck.com. It needs to be updated, but, it's there. You can also contact me with any questions, comments, or whatever through the contact page on the website. If you enjoyed the podcast, please share it. Help spread the word. And feel free to let me know. Positive vibes never hurt. Thanks again, folks. Stay safe, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.